Okay, sorry about that. Here we are. Hi everyone, my name is Karen Burzichelli. I am a health coach and registered nurse. I've been a registered nurse for over 35 years. My specialty is labor and delivery. And a little over 6 years ago, I went back to school for nutrition to get my health coaching. And about it's been a little over 7 years now is when I started my whole food plant-based journey. I had a lot of health issues. They peaked in my 40s. IBS and reflux were my two worst ones, along with really bad osteoarthritis in my knees, and I had herniated discs in my back, both of them exacerbated by working 12-hour shifts as a nurse. I also had really bad skin problems, especially on my hands. I would get chronic chapped lips. I would get really dry skin underneath my eyelids. I had hot flashes really bad, going through menopause. Sleep, insomnia, had a really hard time sleeping. And just really low energy, and probably on top of that, depression, because I felt so horrible. I was an empty nester. I have twin daughters who just turned 31 this summer. And me and my husband were supposed to be enjoying this time of our lives, and I just didn't feel good. Every day, it was a struggle to get out of bed. So I actually discovered this lifestyle kind of accidentally. I had always been kind of healthy. I've always been thin, but then I started to gain some weight in my year leading up to my 50th birthday. I had gained an extra 10 pounds, and I, at this point, was 20 pounds above my natural weight, and just felt really uncomfortable. And of course, it was all around the middle, where us women, especially pre- and postmenopausal, tend to gain that weight. So that was a little disheartening. And I was also going to the gym, and it didn't seem to help, and not really eating a lot of calories. So I actually heard a doctor talking on TV, and I don't remember who it was, talking about dairy and how bad dairy can be and how we can really be allergic to the casein and not really the lactose in it, which I thought I was lactose intolerant, not really allergic to casein. So I did eliminate dairy, and within a week, my IBS symptoms and reflux symptoms started to go away, and I actually lost 5 pounds. So that was pretty amazing. And once that happened, I thought, wow, this is great. Let me just research some more. So I just started researching and discovered Forks Over Knives, watched that documentary, and just started incorporating more whole foods. I cleaned out my pantry and just started reading labels. I pretty much started over, got rid of any processed food, especially if I couldn't read the ingredients, and just slowly transitioned. It did take me probably 9 months before I gave up everything. My last things to give up were eggs and fish. And 7 years ago, there really wasn't a whole lot of information out there. There wasn't a lot of support systems. I didn't know anybody that was eating like this. I had to get all my information from online. But then I found the Nutrition School Institute for Integrated Nutrition, and thought I need to get some more education to help people do this. So I found this program. It was completely online. I loved everything about it. It helped me launch a business, how to do, how to build a website, and that's how I started my coaching business. But my real love is cooking. I am just a home cook. I am not trained. One of these days I'd like to take some formal classes, but I'm just a normal old cook who, mom and wife who just loves to cook at home. So I just went on Pinterest and started Googling vegan recipes. And, there were some ingredients I'd never heard of, like nutritional yeast. I had never heard of flaxseed or chia seed, or a lot of some vegetables I had never even eaten. I never ate Brussels sprouts. I thought they were disgusting. So I just started experimenting, and I signed up for a CSA, which is a community-supported agriculture, and got some local produce. I would either get it delivered, or there was a farm right up the street that I would pick it up once a week. So I would get different vegetables and I would just try out new recipes. Sometimes I would just improvise, and other times I would just Google the recipe with the main ingredient, whatever I wanted to use. So that's pretty much how I got started. And then most of us who get into this movement, we want to share it. So how I decided to share it was to invite my friends over to my house, and I would cook for them, and I taught them how to make some simple plant-based recipes. I would teach them how to read labels, to look for the cleanest ingredients if you were going to eat some processed food. I started hosting dinners, sort of like information dinners. I would have like 10 people, and I would cook a 4-course meal, and then we would sit down around and just talk about, the nutrient density of the food and why this is important. And then we would just, we would just answer questions, and I would answer questions, and they would talk to each other. And then each week we would do it I did like a 6-week series. And then it was nice, like each week everybody would talk about their journey and how they were coming along. So, I've been able to convince a few of my friends to go completely plant-based. Some of them had some health issues, and they turned them around. Others I have convinced to at least go towards that way. But I have learned through this journey is that you can't make anybody do this, and it gets very stressful trying to take care of everybody else. I'm a nurse. We tend to want to fix people and take care of people. But after a while, when you try to do that too much, you get a little burnout. So the first person I wanted to fix was my husband. And a lot of people ask me, does your husband eat this way? So when I decided to go this way, I was still buying some meat for him. I would buy organic meat, but then he would eat all the vegetables. And then a couple years in, I just, the more I learned about animal agriculture and just, got more informed and more sympathetic to the animal plight of whole food, plant-based, veganism, I decided that I couldn't do that anymore. So I had a conversation with him, and I said, you can do whatever you want. You can eat whatever you want, but this house will remain vegan. I will bring no animal products into this house. If you want them, you have to buy them. You have to prepare them. And because my husband really does like my cooking, and he's kind of lazy, he was fine with that. So I kind of let it go. He's a big boy, I'm not his mom. He knows the consequences. He's seen the changes in me. He knows how healthy I am now and how much energy I have. And I just told him that, he's on his own. I'm here. I would pack his lunch for him, but he, passes on that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. You do you, and I'll do me. And when we go out, sometimes he chooses to eat plant-based, and other times he doesn't. And it's hard for me sometimes to hold my tongue, but I do. With my children, my girls are 31, and they were not living with me when I changed this way, but every time they came home, I would introduce them to more food. They like to cook too, so they started making more veggie dishes. They did give up dairy pretty quickly because I told them the effects on their skin, and they both had really bad skin problems with acne. So I was able to get them to give up dairy, and they did see an immediate result. So that was easy for them, and there is a lot of dairy alternatives out there that they can have. And then slowly they just started eating more and more veggie, and now they're both completely vegan, whole food, plant-based. And my one daughter just had a baby. My grandbaby is now 8 months old, and she had a completely plant-based pregnancy, and our baby girl is completely plant-based. Mommy's still breastfeeding, and we're feeding her all organic fruits and vegetables and legumes, and it's been so much fun feeding her. So I'm just really blessed that my children have embraced this, because I feel, and I'm sure if there's some of you out there who are my age and have raised children and didn't raise them this way, I have a lot of guilt because I did feed them a lot of junk food. But that's in the past, and I know now that they're not going to suffer the health problems that I did because they have adopted this lifestyle at a relatively young age. They adopted it in their 20s, and hopefully my granddaughter will not have any issues either. She's the picture of health. She is never sick. You know, she's normal growth. She was 8 pounds 5 ounces when she was born, and she's progressing, you know, like she should be as an 8-month-old. She's crawling and pulling herself up and trying to walk. So I have no worries. So getting started, I know some of you's wanted to know, you know, specifically how to get started, and that's basically what I did was just clean out my pantry. And you know, a lot of people say if it's in your house, you know, it's in your mouth. And I think that's Chef AJ's famous for saying that, but it's true. And also, too, you have to know what your triggers are. My triggers are white flour, or even just flour in general, like breads, crackers, anything like that. So I tend to limit those in the house. White flour there is no white flour in our house. You know, sometimes my husband will bring some chips in, and I have to kind of, sometimes I just throw them out when he's not looking because I don't want to eat them. And I'm not perfect. You know, I will occasionally have that vegan donut or a vegan birthday cake, but it's not a day-to-day thing. It's something on occasion. I have to, you know, make an effort to buy it. I usually just keep all whole foods in my house, you know, grains. And also, too, I'm a very organized person. I think being a nurse, you have to be organized. So I love to store everything in mason jars. All my nuts and seeds, I put all those in the refrigerator, you know, your hemp and your flax. And when you put them in jars, you can see everything that you have. And then in my pantry, I put like my brown rice, my quinoa, my beans, lentils, granola. Anything that you can store in jars is great. And like I said, I get so excited when everything's organized. But it just makes it so much easier when you're trying to cook and if you've had a long day at work and you come home, you're like, oh, what do I want to make? And you can open your pantry and your refrigerator and you can just pull things out. The other things I like to do is keep frozen organic fruits and veggies in the freezer. Now, you know, it's best to eat local. I usually try to keep all my greens organic, and they're not always local organic. But you know, I live in New Jersey, which is the garden state, so we have tons and tons of fresh veggies, more veggies than fruit. We do have like strawberries and blueberries and peaches in our area and some apples, but they're not always organic. So I try to pick organic when I can, but if not, local is great because you know it's been picked pretty quickly and sold. It's not sitting on a truck, you know, coming across the country, and it's not picked when it's not ripe. So, you know, try to do local, but I always keep frozen organic in the freezer, and I go to BJ's. You can go to Costco's, those big box stores. You know, people say, well, it's only 2 of us. I'm not going to go there. Well, it's only 2 of us too, but the big bags of fruit and the big bags of frozen like broccoli, and I keep like the spinach and kale and mixed vegetables in the freezer. And they come in great handy, especially when the fall and winter come around. You want to make soups. You know, another key thing is to have your kitchen tools. I like my Instant Pot. It's great for soups. You just, you know, throw some frozen veggies in there with some brown rice or some quinoa, some spices, a can of tomatoes, and, you know, you'll have soup in 20 minutes. It's great for making chilies. You know, you can keep some, you know, get your spice cabinet filled. You know, keep beans. I do use canned beans. I use canned organic. A lot of people make their own beans in an Instant Pot. That's fine, whatever you want to do. It's all about, to me, it's about convenience and what you have the time for. So the Instant Pot to me is key, and keeping all those staples in your freezer and your cupboard. And then I have a Vitamix, which I absolutely love, and I know they can be expensive, but to me, I don't go out drinking. I don't buy expensive shoes or clothes, so I buy kitchen gadgets. So save up. You know, if you want to go out to dinner and you really want a Vitamix, then don't go out to dinner for a few weeks or a month, or, you know, put it on your wish list for Christmas. But also, too, check out Vitamix's website. They sell refurbished ones that you can get for a pretty deep discount, and they still come with the warranties. So that's, you know, that I can't live without my Vitamix. And then a couple other things that I love is I have a mini chopper. It's a little Ninja. It's a little mini food processor. It's like $20 on Amazon, and it's great. I use it almost every day. You can chop your onions, celery. I use it to make chickpea salad, you know, make salad dressings. And then I also have an air fryer. I know they're like huge, but I do love that. I love making buffalo tofu in there and buffalo cauliflower. I love anything with hot sauce on it. You know, some sharp knives, and I also like having a steamer, like a steamer basket that you can put on your stovetop. That's always convenient to have. And I also like to occasionally make green juice, so I do have a juicer. So what else? Let's see. Kitchen cabinets, kitchen gadgets, pantry organized, and also if you want to do some meal planning, you know, that will also set you up for success. You know, write down, you know, most people rotate through the same 5 meals. You know, you can go through the ethnic ones. You know, you do Mexican one night. You can do Italian one night. You can do Asian one night. So, you know, Mexican's so easy. You can make lentil tacos. You can do chili. And then for Asian, you just do some stir fry, and you can throw it over some brown rice or quinoa. You also can do spring rolls, which are really fresh. Make some peanut sauce to get some rice noodles. And then Italian, I love making a tofu regatta. You can throw that in with some ziti, some whole grain pasta, or I like to use brown rice pasta. And, you know, you can just make a tomato sauce, and you can put all kinds of veggies in your tomato sauce, and that'll really up your nutrient value for that. And of course, you know, one of the things I'm really bad at getting in all the time is the mushrooms. I have to try to do better with that. We all know the mushrooms are really good, but I have a little hard time sometimes getting those in. So if anybody has any questions, specifically, I'm trying to think what else. If you're on Instagram, even on my Facebook page, Karen's Healing Kitchen, the stories link from Instagram, but I usually do stories every day and usually will show you what I eat. Everything is usually really simple to make. I'm not a big, if I see a recipe and it has like 20 ingredients, I just go right by it. I can't be bothered with making something that complex. I don't want to take the time to it. So I show you pretty much, you know, the ingredients and really how I make it, how simple things are. I also do when I do work, I will pack my lunch. So I will make it the night before, and I usually show pictures of exactly what, you know, what I'm bringing to work. Because I work 12 hours and I work on a busy unit, sometimes we don't get a break for lunch. And we don't get a break for breakfast. We pretty much just have to eat it at the desk and when we have a chance. So I like to bring like overnight oats, or I make some yogurt parfaits out of a non-dairy yogurt with some fruit and granola and seeds and stuff. And then our hospital is getting better with choices. Sometimes they have great choices, vegan soups. Their salad bar is pretty good now, and the hot foods are hit or miss. Sometimes I can get 3 or 4 entrees, and sometimes there's none. So I think that's pretty much. Trying to think, is there anybody have any questions? I see, Patricia, you said, yeah, mushrooms are a challenge for you too. I just really forget to buy them. I guess I can look into buying some canned organic. I would have to look and see. I don't know if the nutrient value is the same. But, all right. All right. Anybody have any other questions? Comments? Is anybody here a health coach or a nurse? No, no questions. Oh, hi, Katie. Hi, Jeanette. Hi, fellow nurses. How do you cook onions without oil? Okay, good question. First of all, you got to get a good pan. I have a ceramic pan, and you want to make sure that your pan, you know, is in good shape. If it has any scratches, I just throw it out. So I just saute in either just water or some veggie broth. And once I stopped using oil and I started just water sauteing or broth, I really noticed the difference in the taste of the vegetables. You actually can taste them more because they're not doused with oil. I think oil, you know, it weighs your vegetables down, so they don't taste as fresh. You know, you can taste that oil. The same thing with salad dressings. You know, I don't use any oil in my salad dressings, and you taste all those veggies. And one tip I have about making a salad, I love putting 10, 15 different veggies and grains in my salad, and then what I do is I dump it in a big bowl, and then I take a salad chopper and I just chop it, and then I mix it. And to me, that is just, you taste all those flavors together. And I also love adding fruit to my salads. Like I'll add fresh blueberries, fresh peaches, fresh apples, strawberries, anything like that. I love a little sweetness in my salad. And I'll also add the fruit to the dressing and mix it in with the vinegar and whatever else you're using. And heat the pan first if it's sticking. Yes, get your pan nice and hot. That also helps. And Patricia wants me to talk about eating out. So if I know we're going out and we've already picked a restaurant, or I'm picking a restaurant, I'll use Happy Cow, which I love. I would be lost without the Happy Cow app. And then I'll pull up the menu and I'll see what I can have. And sometimes, you know, because a lot of places don't list all the ingredients. So if there's a veggie burger on there and I'm really in the mood for a veggie burger, I'll call the restaurant ahead of time, because so many times I've gone and I asked about the veggie burger and it has egg in it. And that's I get so disappointed. So I'll call ahead of time and ask, and, you know, either way they'll come back and tell me if it does or it doesn't. So then I just know ahead of time, what I have an option for. You know, I can pretty much make a meal anywheres. But you do have to ask questions. You know, it is a pain. You know, is there butter on this? If you really want it oil-free, then, you know, you got to be specific about that. Since I am oil-free completely at home, when I go out, I don't worry a whole lot about oil. Unless it's doused in oil. I usually say light on the oil. You know, sometimes if you say no oil, they don't know what to do. So I don't eat out that often. So if I do have a little oil out, I'm not concerned about it. Okay. The other thing, eating out, sometimes the chefs, they really enjoy making you something that's not on a menu. So don't be afraid to ask. I went to an Italian restaurant for New Year's Eve, and I just asked the waiter, I'm like, can you just make me like a pasta with roasted vegetables? Whatever veggies he had there, just, throw them in there. And I had the most delicious, beautiful meal, and everybody at the table was jealous. They actually wanted my meal. So don't be afraid to ask. It's, as long as you're nice, I find that when you're nice to the waiter, because it's not their fault that you eat this way, they're usually very accommodating. And I also try to ask all my questions at one time, because sometimes it's like you see something and it's like, can you tell me about this? And then they come back and then you say, oh, can I tell me about this? So try to ask all your questions at one time for the poor waiter. Sometimes I feel bad for them because I ask so many questions, but don't be afraid to ask. This is your meal. How do I add more greens other than salad? I chop them and put them in the fridge, but it's hard to add them to things. How do I add more greens other than salad? Like, you want to add, I'm not sure, Sharon, what you're asking. How do I add more greens other than salad? Do you want to add more greens to your salad, like different kind of greens? You can always saute them, and like tonight I made some vegan raviolis. They had eggplant and I forget what else was in it, but I wanted to up my nutrient value. So I actually took some kale and spinach mix that I had in the freezer, and I defrosted it, and I threw that in with the pasta with some tomato sauce. So, you can add greens to anything. Greens are also great in like spring rolls. Add them to a spring roll. And more greens to my diet in general. Okay. Yeah. I always have a thing of giant mixed greens and spinach in the refrigerator, and I eat them several ways. Like I said, I like to juice, so I will juice them. I'll also put them in a smoothie, make a smoothie bowl, add them with, bananas and some, fruit and all the other seeds and stuff. When you make a nice little fruit bowl, smoothie bowl, I mean. And then, I'll have them to a salad, or like I said, if I'm eating a hot meal, if you're making tacos, you can saute some of those greens and throw them in there. Just add them, just start eating them with everything. Yeah, steamed kale is great too. You can put a little bit of lemon on it, or a little balsamic. Balsamic vinegar, to me, makes everything taste better. And also too, for my greens, especially kale, because if you buy it fresh, you put it in the refrigerator, the next day it's like wilted. I have these, I found them on, I think Amazon, not sure where exactly I found them, but they're these little salad keepers or green keepers, and no lie, I will put kale in there and it'll stay for 10 days out. It still looks like fresh and crisp. So that's another key, because a lot of people say they go and buy all the fresh vegetables and they end up throwing them all out at the end of the week because they all get bad. But also too, if you see like you're not using them and you're going to not be home, freeze them. Like when I was getting my CSA, sometimes I would get like excessive peppers and onions. I'm like, I'm never going to use all these, so I would just chop them all up and throw them in the freezer, and then I would use them in the wintertime. I'd use them to make pizzas, stir fry veggies, or in chilies or tacos. What kind of pasta do you eat? I like Trader Joe's brand. It's an organic brown rice pasta, and they also have a brown rice quinoa pasta. If I eat too much processed wheat or gluten, my stomach does bother me, so I like to stick to the organic gluten-free ones, but the ones that are just like 2 ingredients. A lot of your gluten-free pastas are highly processed, so you have to read the ingredients. You know, pick one that has, like the one I use is brown rice. That's the only ingredient. And then the brown rice and quinoa is brown rice and quinoa. So, you know, there's a lot of different ones out there. I tried a lot before I found one I liked. A lot of them went in the trash can. So, you know, you just have to kind of, you just have to try on error. Taste it already. Ginger, love it. Yeah, anything green is awesome. Doing anything veg into your juicer is awesome. Yeah, Vicky, I agree. I put lots of ginger in mine too. I love ginger. We all know ginger is anti-inflammatory. It's great, you know, for aches and pains, or just for in general keeping you healthy. Do you do green smoothies? So because like I said, I suffered for about 25 years with stomach problems. They actually started with my twin pregnancy when I was 26. I had hyperemesis, which is excessive throwing up, for 4 months, and then they were both breech, so I had severe reflux, and it just never went away. And that's what started my spiral into GI doctors and a million different tests throughout the years, and different prescriptions. So I had a lot of reflux problems, and gas and bloating, IBS and all that. So I find if I drink a smoothie, then I get very gassy. So I like to eat a smoothie bowl, and you know, when you chew your food, you release enzymes. Those digestive enzymes need to break down your food. So if you're drinking your smoothie, especially through a straw, number one, you're not chewing, so you're not getting releasing those enzymes. And number two, a lot of times people drink it so fast through a straw, like it's done in like 10 minutes. And then they're hungry an hour later. So my advice to people is if you do a smoothie because you're doing it to, you know, get out the door and, you know, drink it in a car, make it really thick, or put some like chunks of like unsweetened coconut in it, so it forces you to chew. So, you know, take a sip, squish it around your mouth, chew it, and then swallow it. And drink it slow. You know, if your commute's a half hour, take a half hour to drink it. If it's an hour, you know, like I say, drink it slowly. But even if I do that, I still find myself getting bloated. So I prefer to eat my smoothie. So I make a smoothie bowl. So I don't use any liquid when I make it. I just use bananas, tons of greens, you know, some berries, and I put flax seed, chia seeds, hemp seeds. I usually put some beet powder in it. And if you're familiar with beets, they're, you know, high in nitrous oxide, so they give you lots of energy. They're great for people who have blood pressure issues. So I put some beet powder in there, and then, like I said, I make it really thick, and then I'll put it in a bowl. I also put some acai in there, if I have them, little packets. And then I top it with like some, maybe some almonds or some almond butter, you know, more berries, more fruit, banana, whatever I happen to have in the house. And then, like I said, I eat it, and then I have to chew it to get it down. Miss Mrs. Can I watch this later? I think, yes, that it will be saved. Yes, Mandy, I love deconstructed smoothies. Yes. So they're very popular, you know, the smoothie bowls. And if you go to any of the, you know, the places that make them, they charge like $10. So if you have never made them at home, one of the keys is I personally buy organic bananas. Now, I don't know about everybody else out there, but since I started buying organic bananas, when I eat a regular banana, they are just not, there's no comparison in the taste. They're just so much sweeter. And what you want to do is let them ripe till they have just some spots on them. Not a lot, just a few. And then I break them into small pieces, put them on a cookie tray, throw them in the freezer until they're hard, and then I throw them in a bag. And then I keep them in a freezer. And every time I go to the supermarket, I usually buy bananas, organic bananas, and then do that. So I always have a great supply of the bananas. Do you make pesto? Mary, this is one thing that I have never made. I hate to say that. And it's on my list to make. I know it's extremely easy, but, you know, there's several ways of making it. You can just make it with some, you know, pesto, and basil and pine nuts, but you can also make it with walnuts or almonds, and there's tons of recipes out there and maybe somebody on here has one that they love. But yeah, that is on my list. My list to do is to make some fresh pesto. All right. Any other questions? Great. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, I'm actually going to finish up. You guys can always, like I said, you can follow me on my Facebook page and Instagram, and I'm very open to questions at any time and messaging and, sharing recipes, whatever you want. Always have always have access to my phone, and I love connecting with other people, other like-minded people. I go to a lot of the plant-based conferences. I'm actually going to Plantrition conference in September. I went last year, and it's just amazing. You see all the healthcare professionals there that are getting on board and really getting excited about this lifestyle. So I'm always learning, trying to read. I listen to tons of podcasts. So I think that's it. I'm going to say good night. Hope everybody has a great night. Bye.